Hi, my friends. Today I want to present you a new story. Enjoy watching it.
As I strolled through the bustling city streets, my mind was preoccupied with the usual stresses of my life. Meetings, deadlines, and my spoiled son, Zachary, who seemed to have a talent for turning every family gathering into a showcase of entitlement. I was lost in thought when a commotion drew my attention. A small crowd had gathered near a park bench, and curiosity piqued. I moved closer to see what was happening. There, under a tattered blanket, sat a homeless girl just over 20 years old. Her eyes were wide open and full of fear and defiance as Zachary stood over her and tossed bits of bun to her like she was a pigeon. The girl would catch the pieces on the fly and gobble them up greedily. My son, along with his friends, laughed at this. "Eat the crumbs and get out of here, loser. No one wants you," he taunted, while the other boys giggled. A surge of anger rushed through me. How could my son treat another human being so cruelly? I stepped forward, my voice steady but firm. "Zachary, that's enough." Zachary turned, confusion clouding his features. "Dad, she's just a homeless girl. Who cares?" The words hit me like a slap. "I care," I said, glancing at Jessie, whose gaze now flickered with hope. "This girl deserves kindness, not ridicule." "Come on, Jessie. Let's get you something to eat." Her eyes widened in disbelief. I offered my hand, and after a moment, she took it. The weight of her world momentarily lifted. As we walked away, I could feel the tension radiating from Zachary. "What's the big deal, Dad?" he grumbled, still incredulous. "She's just going to waste your money." "No, Zachary," I replied, my voice stern. "She's a person with a story, just like you. We need to help her, not push her down." I glanced back at Jessie, and for the first time, I saw a flicker of gratitude in her eyes, a sign that perhaps this unexpected encounter could change everything. Later that evening, as Jessie and I sat together in a cafe, I learned more about her. "I used to have a home," she whispered, tracing a finger across the tabletop. "But things fell apart after my mom died. I never knew how to ask for help. I felt my heart ache for her." "You're not alone anymore, Jessie," I promised. "I'll do whatever I can to help you find your way." She looked up at me, her eyes glistening with unshed tears, and for a moment, I saw a flicker of hope in her expression. As we left the cafe, the city lights flickered around us like stars. "Thank you for believing in me," Jessie said, her voice barely above a whisper. Most people just look away. In that moment, I realized how profound our connection could be. Jessie was about to become an integral part of my life, whether Zachary liked it or not. The following days were tense. Jessie moved into our family estate, a sprawling mansion that felt more like a prison for my daughter, Nola, than a home. Nola stormed around the house, her voice echoing through the hallways. "You can't be serious, Dad. You're letting a homeless girl live here. What about our family's reputation?" I watched her pace, her frustration palpable. "Nola, this isn't about appearances. It's about doing the right thing." Nola rolled her eyes dramatically. "Right thing? Or is it about your guilt? You didn't want to feel bad for what you did." I felt a sting at her accusation, knowing she wasn't entirely wrong. The tension mounted as Nola pushed against every effort I made to help Jessie adjust. Jessie tried her best to fit in, often disappearing into the background when Nola hosted her friends. One afternoon, I overheard Nola making a cutting remark to her friends about Jessie's lack of manners. "It's like she doesn't even know how to hold a fork properly," she sneered, laughter bubbling around her. My heart sank as I imagined Jessie's reaction, knowing that each jab from my daughter chipped away at her already fragile spirit. That evening, I confronted Nola after she returned from a day out with friends. "You need to be kinder to Jessie," I insisted, my voice steady. "She's trying her best." Nola crossed her arms, looking defiant. "Why should I? She's just using you for a free ride." I shook my head, frustrated. "You're missing the point, Nola. We are all capable of kindness, even if we don't understand someone's situation. Jessie needs our support, not your disdain." One evening, I found Nola cornering Jessie in the kitchen, her tone icy. "Why are you even here? Do you think you can just waltz into our lives and take everything?" Jessie stood her ground, her voice steady despite the fear flickering in her eyes. "I'm not here to take anything. I just want a chance." The rawness of the exchange shattered something inside me. I realized that I had inadvertently created a divide, turning my family's home into a battlefield. "Jessie, you don't have to prove anything to her," I interjected, stepping between them. Nola crossed her arms, defiance etched on her face. "But she's taking away what we have, Dad. We don't owe her anything." The air crackled with tension, and I felt helpless. This was more than just a struggle for acceptance. It was a clash of values, and I was caught in the middle, desperately trying to bridge the gap between my daughter's entitlement and Jessie's vulnerability. The night of the dinner arrived with a mix of anticipation and dread. I had invited some close friends and business associates, hoping that Jessie's presence would showcase my commitment to helping her. As the elegant dining room filled with laughter and clinking glasses, I noticed Jessie standing apart, her eyes wide with apprehension. Nola remained visibly annoyed, whispering to her friends about how absurd it was to include someone like her in our circle. I took a deep breath and introduced Jessie, gesturing for her to join us at the table. "Everyone, this is Jessie. She's going to be joining us tonight." The room fell silent for a moment, and I felt the weight of judgment in the air. As the dinner progressed, Jessie surprised everyone with her insightful observations and graceful demeanor. When she spoke about her dreams of becoming a graphic designer, the room began to shift. "Art has the power to change perspectives," she said, her voice steady. "It can connect people from different worlds." I watched Nola's expression soften as Jessie recounted her love for painting. "I once painted a mural in my foster home," Jessie recalled, her eyes lighting up. "It brought everyone together, even if just for a moment." I caught Nola exchanging glances with her friends, unsure of how to respond to Jessie's unexpected charm. For the first time, she seemed to understand that Jessie was more than just a charity case. She was a person with dreams. As the dinner continued, I could see the tension easing, and a flicker of intrigue ignited in the room. Jessie laughed with my friends, her laughter infectious. "You know," one of my colleagues remarked, "you've brought a breath of fresh air into this house, Jessie." Nola shifted uncomfortably in her seat but couldn't help but listen. The evening shifted from an obligation to a moment of revelation, one that hinted at the possibility of acceptance. The seeds of transformation were planted, and I hoped they would take root before it was too late. After dinner, Jessie and I lingered over dessert, the ambience relaxing. "I never thought I would be here," Jessie confessed, her eyes shimmering in the candlelight. "This feels like a dream." I smiled, touched by her sincerity. "You belong here, Jessie. You're part of this family now." Suddenly, I noticed Nola watching us, her expression a mix of surprise and concern. I wondered if she was beginning to realize that the barrier she had built around her heart might be crumbling. As the evening drew to a close, I felt a sense of hope that maybe we could find common ground. Jessie, sitting at the table with us, was no longer an outsider. She was a participant in our lives, weaving her story into the fabric of our family. In that moment, I knew we were all on the brink of change, one that could redefine not just our relationships, but our very understanding of what family truly meant. The days following the dinner revealed a shift in the dynamics of our household. Nola, though still hesitant, began to show a glimmer of curiosity towards Jessie. One afternoon, I walked into the living room to find them sitting together on the couch, an art book sprawled open between them. "Look at this one, Nola," Jessie exclaimed, pointing at a vibrant painting. Nola's brow furrowed slightly, but she replied, "It's not bad." The sight filled me with hope, yet I couldn't shake the feeling that Nola was still holding back, caught in the tangle of her preconceived notions about class and status. One evening, I decided to confront the issue head-on. "Nola, can we talk?" I asked, finding her in her room, scrolling through her phone. She glanced up, her face betraying her annoyance. "What is it, Dad?" "It's about Jessie," I began carefully. "I know it's been hard for you, but I believe there's potential for something beautiful here. You could learn a lot from her." Nola shrugged, rolling her eyes. "Dad, it's not like we're going to become best friends or anything. She's just different." I took a deep breath, wanting to reach her. Different isn't bad. It can be enriching. Maybe it's time to let go of your fears and see her for who she is, a person who has overcome a lot. That evening, I found myself in the kitchen, preparing dinner while Jessie quietly organized the pantry. Her presence felt comforting, and I couldn't help but notice the way she moved with purpose, her hands gentle yet efficient. "Thank you for helping out," I said, glancing over my shoulder. "You've made this place feel more like home." Jessie smiled softly, her expression brightening. "I'm glad to be here, even if it's still a bit surreal." As the days turned into weeks, Jessie started sharing bits of her life with me, from her love for music to her dreams of creating a mural in the community park. One afternoon, while we painted together, Jessie's enthusiasm sparked a sense of joy in me I hadn't felt in years. "You have a gift, Jessie," I remarked as she expertly blended colors on the canvas. "Your passion is contagious," she grinned, her cheeks flushed with excitement. "I just want to create something beautiful, you know." That weekend, I decided to take Jessie and Nola to a local art fair, hoping it might deepen their connection. As we wandered through the vibrant displays, I noticed Nola occasionally glancing at Jessie, a flicker of interest in her eyes. When Jessie excitedly pointed out a piece that resembled her own work, Nola's skepticism slowly melted away. "You really have an eye for this, don't you?" Nola asked, her voice softer than before. Jessie's eyes sparkled with joy. "Thanks. I just love expressing myself through art." In that moment, I felt the atmosphere shift. The walls that had separated them were starting to crumble, brick by brick. As we returned home that evening, the laughter between Jessie and Nola echoed in my ears, a sound I had longed to hear. The atmosphere in our household shifted dramatically when I hired a private investigator to look into Jessie's background. I needed to know who she truly was, and my protective instincts as a father urged me to dig deeper. It wasn't long before I received a phone call with information that would change everything. "Vincent, you won't believe this," the investigator began, his voice filled with urgency. "Jessie is the daughter of a close friend of yours, someone who tragically lost their lives in a plane crash years ago." I sat in stunned silence, memories flooding back. I had known her parents well. We had shared countless dinners and laughter. Learning that Jessie was their daughter stirred a whirlwind of emotions within me. She had been living on the streets, lost and alone, unbeknownst to the world who had once celebrated her family. Feeling a sense of urgency, I decided to reveal everything to Jessie. When I sat down with her that evening, the sun casting a warm glow through the kitchen window, I took a deep breath. "Jessie, I need to talk to you about something important." Her brows furrowed with curiosity. "What is it?" I hesitated for a moment, then continued. "I found out who you are. You're the daughter of my late friends, Elizabeth and Mark. They were wonderful people who loved you very much." Jessie's eyes widened, a mix of disbelief and emotions swirling in her gaze. "What? But how?" I explained the investigation, detailing how I had uncovered her past and the circumstances that had led her to my doorstep. As I spoke, I could see her defenses crumbling. "I didn't want to be a burden," she admitted softly, tears glistening in her eyes. "I thought it was better to hide." "No, Jessie," I reassured her gently. "You deserve to know that you're not alone. Your parents would be so proud of you." In that moment, I felt a deep connection with her, an understanding that transcended words. We had both lost so much, but perhaps we could find solace in one another. As the days turned into weeks, Jessie began to settle into her new life. Our bond deepened, and I found myself captivated by her resilience and strength. We shared late-night talks, filled with laughter and dreams, and I admired her creativity as she transformed our home with her artwork. She breathed new life into my once stagnant world. One evening, after an art show showcasing her pieces, I took Jessie for a walk under the stars. The night felt magical, the air thick with unspoken words. I paused, looking into her eyes, the weight of everything we had been through pressing on my heart. "Jessie," I began, "you've changed my life in ways I can't fully explain. I never expected to feel this way about someone again." Her cheeks flushed, and she looked down shyly. "I feel the same, Vincent. You've shown me that kindness exists, that I can dream again." I took a deep breath, feeling a mix of hope and fear. "I love you, Jessie. Will you marry me?" Her eyes sparkled with surprise, and for a moment, the world around us faded. "Yes, Vincent, 1,000 times yes," she exclaimed, tears of joy streaming down her face. I slipped the ring onto her finger, a symbol of our journey and the love that had blossomed amidst the chaos. In that moment, I realized we had both found what we had been searching for: a family, a partnership, and a love that had weathered the storms of life. And as I held Jessie close, the world felt right again.